So there is an expansion coming for AC Shadows in the near term. I mean, it's I don't think they've announced the exact date, but it's coming. And this is the one that they're including as part of like the pre-order thing. They announced this ahead of time. If you pre-ordered the game, then you would get the expansion for free. That offers like 10 hours of content, new weapon, stuff like that. And, there's been some data mining that's been going on in the background by various people. And one of the things that's been asserted by some of these data miners is that it looks as though the DLC was at one time part of the core game, and then it was later cut and turned into a DLC after the fact, which is perhaps why some of the story feels like it ends very abruptly, which it kind of does in AC Shadows. And some people are taking this as, and I think they're running with it in a certain way that I don't think is necessarily accurate. I think that it's very, very likely that this was at one point, parts of it at least, included in the base story. I do think at some point the expansion, at least parts of it, were included in the base game story. I think that explains why the story ends so abruptly. But what my feeling is that at some point, probably like a year plus ago, I think they had the game as like a package. You think of it like this, and they just realized, okay, we got to make a decision, because remember, they delayed it kind of last minute after Star Wars Outlaws. So I think that at some point, maybe early last year, the devs had to go, we need a delay. It doesn't seem like they're going to give us a delay. So let's just go in this last, like, that's probably too much, but like this last little chunk, let's cut this out, and this will become the expansion. We'll move it over here. We'll sell that separately, and we'll add in some extra stuff as well. But that will be the first expansion. And then that means we only have to polish this stuff. Because at the time, they probably didn't think they were getting a delay. They only got the delay after Star Wars Outlaws didn't do so hot. And that allowed them to polish it up. But that seems to be the feeling among a lot of these data miners, people looking at the back-end code, looking at when the scripts were dropped, how it integrates to the main story, stuff like that. And they seem to feel that it was cut, but it doesn't mean that it was cut like in January. It's not like it was cut last November. It seems like it was cut in an attempt from the devs to polish and make the game more manageable, because they didn't think they were going to get a delay from corporate. And even then they were like, we really need a delay. And they eventually got it. And it seems like it went to good use because they polished the game up and got it running way better. But yeah, I've seen some people take it and run with it like they cut this at the last minute or something. And I just don't think that's necessarily the case. It's unfortunate that studios have to cut such huge chunks in order to get the game just done. But that's just what happens when you have executives pushing deadlines that are really, really oppressive. But we'll see when the expansion drops what it explains in terms of the story. Because if you've not played AC Shadows, I won't spoil anything, but there's not even that much to spoil. It just kind of ends out of nowhere. My feeling is that if you have something to cut, like cut some maybe side quests, put all the effort into the main story. That's my feeling. But I think the way that the game is structured, it doesn't really work that same way. There's not the same amount of like side quests to cut because they're set in the world. They're set with pre-established characters that are already standing around. Like, the main story stuff is the really high effort stuff. It's the big set pieces. It's the big motion captured scenes, like the stuff that needs a lot of polish and time and effort. And I think that at some point, probably early last year, maybe even late 2023, they were like, they're not going to give us a delay to polish it. We've got to cut it so that we can at least get it done and get it as done as we can manage. And then they were eventually given the delay, but I think they were given the delay long after they had already kind of spliced that out and just been like, yeah, the story's going to end kind of abruptly, but at least it'll be done and we'll do it that way. Oh, is it the hidden one? Is that who reported on it? I thought I had it bookmarked, but I didn't. Oh yeah. And thank you for that, RS Nos, for pointing this out. Yes, it was the hidden one on X. So I was speaking to Slider V2, who's a well-known data miner. You've probably seen his videos on your homepage. The Claws of Awaji DLC, he thinks was originally part of the base game, but was cut entirely. His reason is because he data mined the files. He knows the story of the DLC. He mentioned how it's very important to the main story. He also said the script for the DLC story was included in the day one patch. Compare both files, and the unpatched version is missing the Claws of Awaji script. He also mentioned that Ubisoft may have chosen to package Claws of Awaji as DLC to avoid another another delay for the game. So in other words, instead of pushing back the full game to finish the story, they likely cut it to repackage it as an expansion so they would launch the main game on time. Kind of lines up. Yeah, and to be clear, I think that they probably made this decision like a good while ago, well before the first official delay, because I think they made this decision because they didn't think they could get a delay from corporate, even if they told them like we really need it. That's my feeling. And we'll get a feeling for it. I think when the expansion comes out, if it's really like integral to the story and it's like pretty clearly this was intended for the actual finale, then I think we'll see.